Hello, Fredericksburg, Texas. Hello, world. Welcome to Informing Fredericksburg. To inform means to form what's inside. Nothing has more power to form our thinking and our being than the power of words. That begs the question, what words, which words, and whose words? Informing Fredericksburg. We'll be back. We're going to visit with Penny McBride, the president and CEO of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce, right after these.
Touch Well Service will take care of all your water well needs that come after drilling. They specialize in water pump installation and repairs, servicing windmills, solar pumps, jets, submersible pumps, and pressure tanks. Touch Well Service has been in business since 2002 with 83 years combined experience. Their entire staff is dedicated to their customers. Touch Well Service supports all men and women in the United States military and first responders. Touch Well Service, 830-997-2413. On the web, hillcountrywaterwell.com, and look for them on Facebook. Texas Hill Country Bank understands these are challenging times, and they want to assure you that your favorite bankers are still there to help via phone or email, and their bank remains strong and focused on their customers. With mortgage rates the lowest they've ever been, now may be the perfect time for you to refinance your home, or maybe you're looking for a low-interest loan for your business. They'd love to talk to you, and if you haven't already taken advantage of their mobile and online banking options, give them a call or visit them online, TexasHillCountryBank.com, where good people make good bankers. Member FDIC.
We're back informing Fredericksburg. Glad y'all can join us today. We want to thank the Bell House B&B here in beautiful Fredericksburg, Texas for supplying us with this beautiful studio. We certainly appreciate that. And right now we're going to visit with Penny McBride, the president and CEO of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce. How you doing, Penny?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself before we start with the questions.
Well, thanks. You know, you and I've known each other forever. We
high school. Don't tell any high school stories. No, that's a different show.
And I won't say how long ago it was either. We'll go ahead and protect that. But, I both had the good fortune to grow up here in Fredericksburg, and I feel so very blessed by that. I've gotten to live here my entire life, working in a variety of different capacities that involve traveling a lot. But for the last 9 years, I've been the president and CEO of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce, which has been great to spend all of my time full-time here in the community. So the Chamber is in its 100th year. 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the Chamber. Wow. And Lord knows it's been a wing dinger, of 100 years. This has been a very interesting one so far. We have about 900 business members that we serve. And when I think about 900 members in a community that's about 12,000 population, to me, that really speaks volumes about our business community. One, that they've been here 100 years more in many cases, and two, that they still believe in that power of networking and know that the collaboration among businesses is the best practice and the way that we can succeed economically, especially in times like this where we're experiencing hardship.
Absolutely. And so, well, again, thank you for coming in. On Friday, Penny, I guess you've heard I interviewed City Manager Kent Myers. Still receiving continued questions and feedback on why a shelter-in-place order has not been implemented. What do you know about the matter?
Well, as of this morning, there's been no further action taken by either the city or county towards a shelter-in-place mandate. And there has not been any additional guidance from the governor's office as well beyond the restrictions that he implemented, about 10 days ago. So, however, I do know several Texas counties have implemented shelter-in-place orders. And if you look at the language of those orders, they differ. So there is opportunity for those particular governmental entities to craft those restrictions in a way that makes best sense for what they know specifically about that location. I also know that last week, Hill Country Memorial Hospital, along with its medical executive committee, asked for the city and county to consider a shelter-in-place order. And I happen to sit on the Board of Trustees for Hill Country Memorial. In fact, I'm the current Board of Trustees chair. Okay. And I just really want to express how impressed I am with our medical community, not only HCM, but all of our provider offices. We have just an incredible blessing in having that community. And the preparations that they're making are nothing shy of extraordinary. They've been asked to do a lot of work in a very compressed period of time. And I have very strong confidence that we're as ready as possible. But with that said, if we experience a spike in cases that exceeds our capacity, we could have the same challenges that we've seen other healthcare systems all over the country that have been overwhelmed.
Several hotspots out there.
Exactly. I mean, you can only deliver what you have the capacity to serve. So while we are taking this incredible economic hit, we also have to, I think, temper those thoughts around what is the public health threat as well, and have all of that taken into consideration.
It's all community, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And there you go. So, well, speaking of the community here, concerning times, we mentioned that for the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce members. Do you have an idea right now of the local impact we're experiencing in this current business disruption? Where we are right now? Is that?
Yeah, well, it's safe to say that every single business in Gillespie County has been impacted. So we're all aware that the governor placed restrictions a while back that prohibited restaurants from serving in their dining rooms. They can still do, of course, takeout delivery. It closed bars, our wineries, gyms, certain other kinds of personal care services cannot operate, and that order is going to last through April 3rd at midnight, and the governor could, of course, extend it, which, I think we all have to consider might be a very much a likelihood, right? But for all those businesses, they've seen an immediate, very devastating hit. And our tourism economy, of course, has plummeted. But even businesses that aren't tourism related have seen some real hardship, as I've already had conversations with several of our members that their supply chain is being disrupted. They have real concerns about how long will they be able to get the products or materials that they need to continue to do their work. Plus, with our school children having been out of school for several weeks now, there's also the strain of my employee needs to be at home to take care of their child at home. And so that creates some labor situations for businesses as well. So it's impacted everyone. I do want to say, though, that the innovation that our members have shown around some of those restrictions has been incredible. Normally a business, if they were going to, let's say, go to an only delivery model of business, they would have a period of weeks where they would, talk about how to implement that, what is the strategy behind that. And these businesses have literally had to stand up those changes overnight. So I'm really proud of our business community, and it shows kind of the commitment that local businesses are placing on saying, one, how can we keep as many of our people employed as possible? And two, how can we best serve our customers in this brand new economic climate that we're facing?
And the challenges ahead.
Absolutely.
Do you have an idea of what the downstream effect of this business interruption looks like?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, the most immediate impact is layoffs. So statewide, as of Thursday, I know that there's been 156,000 unemployment claims filed in Texas, and that's about 10 times the normal number of unemployment claims that they would see at this time of year. The more sobering number, JD, is that the Texas Workforce Commission estimates there could be an additional 800,000 claims that are trying to be made, but their system's overwhelmed. The phone lines are tied up. It's difficult to get online because there's such demand. So the impact could be even bigger, and it's interesting for here in Fredericksburg. So my whole time as chamber president, the greatest challenge that I would say our community has was a lack of workforce, right? We've seen this for years now, where businesses are struggling to hire the talent they need, and we've had this chronic underemployment. Now, for the first time in maybe any of our lives, or at least certainly in a good stretch of history, we might be seeing us have to grapple with the issue of unemployment.
How else does this affect Fredericksburg?
Well, I think, for one, the business community is going to see that trickle-down effect. So if business A is closed and business B's operations or production capacity gets limited and their customers of business C, that all is going to roll through our economy. So while I think we all hope that the virus passes quickly and we can get back to business as soon as possible, you can't just, step on the brakes and expect everything to be restored to normal overnight, right? So you've seen some businesses that have experienced complete shutdowns, and of course that impact will continue to hit as we see that. I think we also have to be mindful that, in our particular situation, both our city and our county budgets are funded in large measure by tourism-related spending. So each of them get sales tax receipts that are driven by those tourists that come here and spend their money. And without that part of the city and county budgets, they're going to have to be making some difficult decisions too about how that impacts our services. And, it's too soon to tell what that looks like, but I think that's something we can all expect to see.
So what can we do as a community to help our local businesses? What can we do?
Well, I think the quick answer to that is they've been there for us. Now it's our time to be there for them, right? So they're the reasons we have paychecks. They're the reasons that we can shop and get kinds of things. And, like all the things you can do and buy and see and experience in Fredericksburg, you don't get that in any other town our size. So we can rely on them for that. And every time there's a fundraiser, who do you go to and ask for a silent auction donation, or who do you ask to give a proceeds of their sales to, right?
Exactly.
It's small business. So this is the time, and we can talk about some strategies for that, but I think this is the time for us to say, hey, you've been there for us time and time again. Now, what can we do to make sure that you keep moving?
Amen to that. Amen. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. We're going to continue our conversation with Penny McBride. She's the president and CEO of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce. We'll be right back.
Big Creek Communications is celebrating 20 years of connecting the Hill Country. 20 years of scaling towers, climbing roofs, installing networks, wireless broadcasting, timely responses, friendly service, technical support, expanding coverage, increasing speeds, keeping promises, providing our community with always-on, high-speed internet. Big Creek Communications, celebrating 20 years of serving you.
Creek Street Dental utilizes the latest technologies in dental care. Dr. McBride has been specially trained to offer the Hill Country sedation dentistry. Anxious patients can sleep through oral surgery in a private room with family nearby. Their CBCT machine provides near-silent imaging, making possible the most painless and effective treatments. iTero technology allows virtual manipulation and modeling, so no more gagging on impression trays. Call 830-990-1178 for the best in your family's dental health today.
We're back informing Fredericksburg at fbg.live. You'll find some other channels there on the bottom, and informing Fredericksburg is one of those. If we ever get back into high school sports again, Billy's.live is there. There's some other channels on there as well. So the place to go, the home page, if you will, is fbg.live. So we talked a little bit about how we can help businesses before the break. Buying gift cards that you can use later, that could help. What other ideas do you have?
You're absolutely right. The gift cards is a great idea because, we know we're going to spend money with those businesses anyway. So we can do it now and give them the cash flow, and then we have that available to spend when we want it. But one of the things I've personally done, JD, is I've made a pledge that I'm going to just keep eating out as much or even more than I did before, because we know the restaurants are some of the businesses locally that have been the most harshly impacted.
Yes.
And so many of them now you can order takeout food or you can have it delivered. If you visit the Chamber's website, Fredericksburg-Texas, spelled out.com, we are keeping a continuously updated list, and you can sort that by category so you can say, hey, what restaurant do I want to order from? I've also been using a couple of our local caterers, so they are doing some meals for families as well, which is nice. So
That's
if
a great idea.
I'm a single person, so I'm going to order food for one, but if you have a family to feed, they can bring you a whole casserole, the whole food kit that you need to feed a family. Remember,
I love the catering service idea. I really do.
Yeah, and there's several really great ones out there that are doing that concept. I know this past weekend, my boyfriend and I ordered food. We had it delivered, and I think we also need to be good tippers right now. To the degree our household budgets can, an extra tip goes a long way. But we had it on our outdoor dining table, and it was still is just the same wonderful food that we've grown to love in our community. But we can help them out that way.
You bet. Anything else we can do?
Lots of things. So another initiative that I've personally taken on is I am terrible at the Christmas holidays. So I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. But sometimes I don't really focus on the beauty and the meaning of the season because I'm stressed out by that last minute errands and gift shopping and all of that. So to what degree could we do our Christmas shopping now?
Online, local.
Yeah. Local. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I know that some household budgets are being stressed with this right now. And so to the degree you can, go online, because a lot of our restaurants and a lot of our shops and businesses that we know and love also have an online presence, not just the bricks and mortar. So I've ordered wine that I had delivered to my house to give as gifts, and I ordered it from Lost Straw Cellars. Not only did they deliver the wine to my front door, they brought me a roll of toilet paper, right? So, but kind of joking aside, a lot of them are doing special offers. They're offering free shipping, delivery service. They're doing bundles of products so you can actually save money now. And think how fun it'll be in December when we're past all of this stress and you have your Christmas shopping done.
I love that. And, the last time I checked, I don't think Amazon sponsored our Fredericksburg Little League.
They did not.
No, they didn't. Yeah, no, they didn't. So, in fact, every time there is a fundraiser festival, I know you touched on this a little bit, but anytime we've got a fundraiser festival event, we see the list of businesses that donated to support those causes. How about them? What's your thoughts?
We especially need to do that because you made the point so well. The businesses are who we turn to, not just for financial donations and products, but look at the volunteer base that they provide to us as well. So in the Chamber of Commerce, I'm really mindful of that. My organization's almost entirely volunteer driven. And so I'm asking them to take off time from their jobs. I'm asking them to donate things to me. And I know every other nonprofit or special, the schools, everybody's turning to them. So the degree that we can remember that and pay them back is really important.
You're right. It's not always about money. Sometimes, donate time and sometimes ask them for their time. And
we have a group called the Fredericksburg Chamber Ambassadors, and they go to all the ribbon cuttings and they help us. And, there's about 30 of them. And if you would just look at what that person is compensated per hour and then times 30 of them times the amount of time they give, that's a very valuable asset that the business is giving too, in addition to product and financial donations.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about how the community can help support business through this pandemic that we're all going through here, and we are going to get through this. I believe it. There's a silver lining, and we're all going to learn something from this. But what other resources do business have in this time of uncertainty?
So that's a great question and something I really want to spend some time with because there's a lot of new programs that are being rolled out or changes to existing programs that our small businesses can qualify for. And so that's really the focus of our chamber right now is how can we get them the resources that they need. So earlier this month, the Small Business Administration rolled out economic disaster funds. And this is kind of the funds that we normally associate with a natural disaster, like a tornado hits a county and there's a disaster declaration and we know that that county then can get money. Well, that happens statewide for Texas, and instead of a natural disaster, it's called an economic injury disaster loan. So a business can go with the SBA and file paperwork to say, hey, my business has been harmed economically because of the COVID-19 crisis, and be able to get a low interest loan. Now, it's a little different. So a lot of our members have already worked with SBA before, and so they're used to certain restrictions, but some of those have been waived. And I'll give you a couple examples. So Typically for an SBA loan, you have to be able to demonstrate that you've gone to a lender before and were denied through a traditional lending package, or maybe that you tried to get a line of credit and could not, but you don't have to do that now. And also, you typically have to promise with an SBA loan that you can either give a personal guarantee or that you have sufficient collateral to secure the loan. And again, some of those restrictions have been loosened. So even if you're not sure yet that the SBA loan route is the way you want to go, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and complete the injury form. And then you started the process in place to document what your losses are, and you make sure that you capture that information while it's fresh in your mind.
And certainly take advantage of the programs that are out there.
Absolutely.
Because that's our money. I mean, that's, especially with some of these, when you get into the aid from the government, that's not the government's money, that's our money. So definitely take advantage of these programs and utilize them as best you can. On Friday, of course, speaking of the government, and the headlines were about the $2 trillion, I'm trying to wrap my brain around, $2 trillion stimulus package that was finally passed. Is there help for small businesses within that?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. And we'll spend a little bit of time talking about what that looks like and what those processes are. But before we do that, I kind of want to say that it's going to be different for every business. So there's, the degree to which you can use the programs, which are pretty broad, which is good. But the information I share with you is only intended to be an overview. It's not financial advice. It's not legal advice. I really want all of our businesses to count on the team they already have in place. So this is the time that you need to talk to your local banker, your attorney, your accountant, your financial advisor, because they're the ones that will take you through how all of the stuff that's come from the Fed now can best be utilized for your individual business.
Absolutely. That makes sense. How about we start with how much money is available? How much money is available?
So that's a good place to start. So the program that was passed is called the Coronavirus, and I'm going to read this because it's such a mouthful, Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security. The short version is that spells the word CARES. So the CARES Act is a $350 billion is what they're offering to try to keep workers working. So the whole point of that is to keep workers working and to try to help businesses cover that. So the part of the CARES Act that small business is going to be most concerned about is called the Paycheck Protection Program. And that's offering 100% federally guaranteed loans to businesses, but it has to be used to retain workers or to bring workers back that may have been laid off. It'll also cover some other operational expenses. But here's the exciting part. Those loans can be forgiven if you operate within the criteria that are established. The pieces of that you use to pay your people and some of your operating expenses can be forgiven. So that's a big deal.
$350 billion?
$350 billion.
With a B.
With a B.
Okay.
That's a lot of money, right?
A lot of money.
So I was thinking the same thing. And this past Friday, I was on a conference call about this program, and the United States Chief Policy Officer was on, and he said, okay, let's talk about how much money that is. If that would be enough to keep all small business nationwide paid for 6 weeks. So it's a huge amount of cash, but it is a finite amount of cash. And so businesses need to, start thinking about whether that's something that's for them. But again, it is a loan. Even though parts can be forgiven, businesses really need to look at what is my current status? How long do I think it will take for me to economically recover? And that's hard to do right now. I mean, we're in uncharted waters. No one's crystal ball is working especially well, as best I can tell. But businesses, this is additional debt, so you want to be thinking about that even though it can be forgiven, and we'll talk about some of the criteria around that.
In fact, we'll do that coming up after the break. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll be back with more Informing Fredericksburg at fbg.live. We'll be right back.
Segner's Jewelers supports the community during this difficult time. We will get through this. They're here to help any way they can. From their family to yours, God bless and keep the faith. From Segner's Jewelers.
Cordially invited a special service for special events, anywhere in the Hill Country. Family and friends won't have to miss it after all. From the producers of Billy's.live. Cordially invited.live. Find us in all the familiar places.
Touch Well Service will take care of all your water well needs that come after drilling. They specialize in water pump installation and repairs, servicing windmills, solar pumps, jets, submersible pumps, and pressure tanks. Touch Well Service has been in business since 2002 with 83 years combined experience. Their entire staff is dedicated to their customers. Touch Well Service supports all men and women in the United States military and first responders. Touch Well Service, 830-997-2413. On the web, hillcountrywaterwell.com, and look for them on Facebook.
All right, we're back informing Fredericksburg. We're visiting with Penny McBride. She is the president and CEO of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce. Let's talk about businesses right here in Gillespie County. Will they have an opportunity to use some of those government programs that we were talking about before the break?
Absolutely. And probably the most exciting part for us here locally is that virtually every one of our businesses will qualify under the terms of that. So let's talk a little bit about what conditions you have to meet to even be eligible to get those. Number one, you have to have fewer than 500 employees. So there's only, 2 or 3 businesses I'm aware of in Gillespie County that would even have that number. So virtually every business would meet that threshold, that they have fewer than 500 employees. And they've made some interesting provisions around franchises. So you may say, okay, well, I own the local McDonald's franchise, but, we're a multinational company with lots of people, right? So they put a provision in it that it's also by location. So as long as you don't have more than 500 employees at that specific location, franchises also qualify. So McDonald's, Sonic, the Fairfield Inn, as long as they don't have more than 500 workers here locally, they will apply. They'll be able to qualify as well. It also has some implications for the nonprofit community. So if you're a 501c3, which is one of the criteria in the IRS code to be considered a nonprofit organization of a certain type, as long as you have fewer than 500 employees, you can also qualify, which is great news. And then we all know that we have a ton of the self-employed in Gillespie County. They can get in on this program as well as independent contractors. And what I mean by independent contractor, if you get a 1099 instead of a W-2 as a report of your income, that means you're an independent contractor and you qualify. Now for those folks, they're going to be required to show their 1099s for earlier this year and probably also for 2019 because they'll have to establish how their paycheck got impacted because they look a little different than the traditional worker. And then also there is some money for veterans organizations if they're a 501(19) it's called. So it's pretty broad encompassing. I can think of very few companies in Gillespie County that probably would not at least meet those eligibility requirements.
Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty much every local business I can think of for sure. So how would one go about getting relief and what would they be asked to prove?
So in its initial form that's being filled out, or rolled out, I should say, you have to go to what they call a 7A lender, which is a list of typically very large banks. However, the Act also allowed the U.S. Treasury Secretary to very quickly approve additional lenders. And they're going to have to see that, huge, massive fund administered. They're going to need additional lenders. So again, I want to stress this is the time, if you're interested in filing, to go talk to your local banker, right? Because that local banker, they already know your business, right? They already know how you operate, what your needs are. They've been your partner for years. And so they're going to be really well suited to help say, this is where we think, you should land, and make sure that you call them up because they'll be the best source of information for you.
Well, yep, there's that word again, local. There's that theme, local. So let's keep it local, right?
Yeah, and we have a really broad assortment of local banks, also financial advisors. So we're very, very lucky in that we have them to turn to. Here's some of the things that they're going to ask you. So if you were to call up your banker, Dwayne, here's the kinds of things that they're going to want to know from you. Right. One, you're going to have to demonstrate that you were in business on or before February 15th. And as best I can tell, not a lot of new business startups right now. So that shouldn't be hard to satisfy.
Right.
And then also you're going to have to be able to demonstrate how the uncertainty around the pandemic has impacted your business adversely. So basically you're being asked to illustrate what has been your economic loss as a result of this. You'll be wanting to look at that. So maybe before you even call that local banker, start looking at what you think that those numbers look like. You can use these funds that you loan through this program to retain workers, to bring workers back, and you also can use it for some of your operational expenses that we'll talk about here in just a little while. Also, you're going to have to tell them that, hey, I haven't applied for other money somewhere for the same purpose, so you can't double dip, obviously. But if you've already applied for one of those SBA loans that we talked about earlier, that's not counted against you. In fact, you can fold that into this program. So just because you did that doesn't mean that it kicks you out of eligibility for this one. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, if you, if you're an independent contractor or self-employed, you'll need probably some longer, that you'll have to go further back in demonstrating what your income has been. But that's a simple matter of just looking at your 1099s.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, assuming a business meets those criteria and they want to proceed, how much can they borrow?
Well, there's a good general issuance that has been given, but first I want to say that, it's going to be different for different businesses. So it's all payroll based, but if your payroll also includes additional benefits like health insurance or some kind of pension, those sorts of things, that's going to be ultimately factored into the formula. Also, if you're an employer that does full-time year-round employment versus a seasonal employer, that's going to change up a little bit because you're going to be looking at a specific snapshot of the time that you were impacted. So seasonal employers may have to look a little bit differently at that. And then, of course, the independent contractor self-employed piece. But with all that said, generally speaking, what the rule of thumb is that you want to look at what your average monthly payroll is, and then you multiply that by 2.5, right? So it's your monthly payroll times 2.5 times, not to exceed $10 million is what you can loan under this program.
Gotcha. Well, I notice you've used that word loan a lot in outlining what's in the stimulus package. Does all that have to be paid back?
Well, fortunately, maybe not. So the whole intent of the Paycheck Protection Program is to keep people working or to invite back workers that have already been laid off and to give employers the resources to be able to do that. So some of those pieces of the loan could be forgiven.
And how does that work?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, how does that work? I'm interested. Yeah.
We're basically going to be looking at an 8-week period of time. So let's say you apply for this funding from the date that the loan is originated, moving 8 weeks forward is the period of time that you're going to be looking for. Okay. So again, you're going to be looking at what that payroll cost is. Obviously, you can't get more than what you applied for. So you could receive that payroll cost could be forgiven. And there's some restrictions we'll talk a little bit about more as well. But the other thing that will really help local employers is, let's say that you own the property that you do business from. Your mortgage won't be paid, but the interest on the mortgage during that time could qualify for a loan forgiveness. Or maybe you're renting your business location or leasing it. So the rent payments during that period of time could be considered as part of that loan forgiveness. And also utilities. So what was your phone and your electric bill and your internet bill and all those kinds of things. Plus, if your employees are tipped and you pay additionally around that, you may be able to qualify for some forgiveness. So you can see it's really important that you first spend some time with your business books and document what all those costs are, because you're going to want to try to get as much of that qualified for loan forgiveness as possible.
Well, is there anything else that will affect the amount of potential loan forgiveness?
Yeah, so again, remember that this is around keeping people working. So there's some thresholds that the government has set. So they're saying, we want you to keep workers working. So if you were to lay off more than 25% of your workforce, or if you were to reduce wages by more than 25%, then the level of forgiveness that you receive will be reduced. But that's at least helpful in that they say, hey, we know small business, you might not be able to keep 100% of your workforce that entire time. Or maybe companies are considering wage reductions. Instead of layoffs, maybe everyone takes a wage reduction for a period of time to keep people working. But as long as you don't get below that 25% mark, you can get loan forgiveness. But beyond that, then the amount of forgiveness gets impacted.
So what about local companies that have already made layoffs? Are they out of luck in participating in this program?
No, in fact, they're actually being encouraged to bring people back.
Bring them back.
Yeah. So there's a part of that is that you can also qualify for funding and be have that forgiveness loan or loan forgiveness take place if you bring your workers back, and you have a little bit of a window of time to accomplish that. So the start date on all of this is February 15th, but you actually have through June to bring workers back and still qualify for some of that loan forgiveness. So they realize small businesses might not be able to say, hey, come on back right now, but they've provided a little bit of runway to give businesses the opportunity to do that.
Annie, that's a lot of info.
It's a lot. It's a chunk of stuff.
I'm in overload up here, and that doesn't take much. But how does a business owner begin to get through it all? I mean, how do you get through all this?
So yeah, it's a lot of stuff, and we spend a lot of time over the weekend trying to read through the programs and see what's out there. Right. There's some good resources, and so one of the things that we feel very strongly about our job now as a chamber and helping our members is to try to compile this information as best we can. So again, if you go to our website, Fredericksburg-Texas spelled out.com, we have a whole COVID-19 resource section where we're posting content around this or posting links. Like just this past weekend, I was contacted by an employer who had a layoff. So we helped them with the unemployment for a larger number. There's a way that the employer can streamline that and gave them the links. So what our goal really is that we don't want our business owners chasing this information. We want that to be something we do for them because they have their hands full, right? We want them focused on their business. So the degree that we can put these resources in one place to help our businesses look at in a more condensed, digested format, we think that's helpful to them.
Extremely helpful. Let me just tell you that right now. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back to kind of wind things down here in just a little bit. We'll be back with more Informing Fredericksburg at fbg.live, and right now we're on texasradio.net as well. We'll be back.
Texas Hill Country Bank understands these are challenging times, and they want to assure you that your favorite bankers are still there to help via phone or email, and their bank remains strong and focused on their customers. With mortgage rates the lowest they've ever been, now may be the perfect time for you to refinance your home. Or maybe you're looking for a low-interest loan for your business. They'd love to talk to you. And if you haven't already taken advantage of their mobile and online banking options, give them a call or visit them online, TexasHillCountryBank.com, where good people make good bankers. Member FDIC.
Big Creek Communications is celebrating 20 years of connecting the Hill Country, 20 years of scaling towers, climbing roofs, installing networks, wireless broadcasting, timely responses, friendly service, technical support, expanding coverage, increasing speeds, keeping promises, providing our community with always-on high-speed internet. Big Creek Communications, celebrating 20 years of serving you.
Creek Street Dental utilizes the latest technologies in dental care. Dr. McBride has been specially trained to offer the Hill Country sedation dentistry. Anxious patients can sleep through oral surgery in a private room with family nearby. Their CBCT machine provides near-silent imaging, making possible the most painless and effective treatments. iTero technology allows virtual manipulation and modeling, so no more gagging on impression trays. Call 830-990-1178 for the best in your family's dental health today.
Segner's Jewelers supports the community during this difficult time. We will get through this. They're here to help any way they can. From their family to yours, God bless and keep the faith. From Segner's Jewelers.
Cordially invited. A special service for special events. Anywhere in the Hill Country. Family and friends won't have to miss it after all. From the producers of Billy's.Live. Cordially invited.live. Find us in all the familiar places.
Welcome back to Informing Fredericksburg. We're visiting with Penny McBride, the president and CEO of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce. Let's circle back a little bit, Penny, where we started, kind of recap why it's important for all of us to support one another. I mean, that's, in these times, we got to support each other. That's for sure.
So one of the things I've said often in our communication to our members is that we're all in this together, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I can come up with another time in my life on this earth where a crisis emerged that impacted everyone, right? That we're all in it together. Everyone's being impacted. And hopefully that right now the financial impact is the worst of the toll, that we also don't have the public health toll. But I think it's just important for us to take care of each other, right? I keep saying this again and again, let's just be good humans. And if we're all good humans, we're going to come out the other side of that much stronger. It's not going to go away overnight. We're going to feel the economic ripple of this for a while. That's, there's no point in sugarcoating it. But as long as we're good humans and take care of each other as a community, that's our best recovery tool.
Amen. And try to choose faith over fear. We have to stay calm.
Love that. I'm going to steal that.
Well, they're both an emotion.
Amen,
you can
brother.
either choose fear or you can have faith that we're going to come out stronger on the other end of it. And that's the road I'm taking personally. But yeah, so give us some ideas, on some people we should be helping.
Well, I think, again, I'd be remiss as chamber president if I didn't say help your business community, right? And I love what you said earlier. We could probably all, go to our house right now and stay home for a while and get everything we need on Amazon.com, right? But you said it earlier, Amazon they're not the people that
they're
we
not
call.
at the soccer field.
Yeah, they're not out there on the soccer field. They're not donating a portion of their proceeds when someone's battling a terminal disease and needs some help. They're not the ones that put a silent auction basket. Like, I've never seen at the chamber banquet a silent or live auction item courtesy of Amazon.com, right? So while that's a tool out there, we have to be mindful that our local businesses are much more important to us than what we know. And I think, again, like I mentioned earlier, if there's a silver lining in any of this, it will be that awareness of what a critical piece of the fabric, the community fabric, that small business plays.
I have faith in Fredericksburg.
Me too.
I do. This is one of the best communities. I was born and raised here, started working radio when I was 14. I never left. People are wanting to come back, but something about Fredericksburg, and you can even look at the Hill Country as a whole, we get things done, and we're going to pull together, and we're going to get through this. I believe that with my whole entire heart and soul. I believe that.
Well, we have a history of rolling up our sleeves. I mean, that goes back to, our German roots. We have a history of rolling up our sleeves and getting it done. And I think the other thing I'd like to just encourage people to do is be on the lookout for people you can help. So I bet none of us would have to go more than 2 or 3 houses to find someone that maybe they shouldn't be out there because they're an at-risk person, that they're above the age of 65 or that they have other health complications. Maybe I can go to the grocery store for them or pick up their prescriptions so they don't have to go out and incur that risk. Or we also know that we have now this population that's been laid off and that are unemployed, and that has to be a terrifying thing to face. So I'm aware of like a program going on right now. Let's say you're at HEB and you have an extra $100 you can spend, buy a gift card, donate it to the Hill Country Community Needs Council, and they're using those cards to help workers that are affected by COVID-19 to say, here's a little extra money that you can use for groceries or gas until this passes. So that's something that almost any of us could make that $100 buy to help out someone that's really struggling right now. And I don't think we have to look very far in any given direction to find someone that we could help and lighten their load.
Absolutely. Amen to that. So you briefed on some places we can go for more information from the chamber. what other places can we go for information, or what do you suggest?
So there's tons of great resource materials out there, but the challenge once again is that just the rate that information's being issued is almost mind-numbing, and the complexity of that. And as I mentioned earlier, there's no cookie cutter for a business. So this program may make perfect sense for business A, but business B would need a different path. So again, we're trying to aggregate that information as much as we can. We also invite our members, and I've been so proud of I can't count the number of emails I get every day from our members saying, hey, I learned this, or I'm doing that, and I thought maybe you'd want to share it with other members. Absolutely. And the spirit of that has been, just really kind of humbling, to be honest with you. So if you have information to share, send it to us, because we'll compile that. But also, like I said, we want you focused on your business. We're willing to do the research work to get you there. Go to Fredericksburg-Texas.com. And one other thing I want to mention, just because I've had some questions, we won't really get into this too much, but there's the Family and Medical Leave Act. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, earlier this month, again, Congress passed some different rules around how the Family and Medical Leave Act applies. For the most part, Gillespie County employers are not being impacted by that, because if you're below 50 employees, you don't have to, you're not governed by the FMLA. But if you're above 50, you definitely want to come on our website as well and look at that, because there's, some changes that got made to those programs in terms of what kind of leave that you have to provide someone if they've been diagnosed with COVID-19, or if they're having to stay home with their children, or they have a longer running health event. There's some changes to that, and they can come on our website and figure that out as well.
Wow. I love this word, and I don't get to use it much. You've been a plethora. Is that a word?
I've always wanted to be a plethora
of information. And we really appreciate
my life's ambition now is met.
But I want to thank you for coming on to the show. But at this time, I want to give you some final thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts before we head on out of the B&B here, the Bell House B&B?
Well, I guess my final thought is that these are troubling times. They're unprecedented, and everybody, like I mentioned, is in it together. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. This is a huge economic hardship, and the ripples are going to be felt for a while. But the degree that we can all just be good neighbors, that we can be able to stay out of the public as much as we can, to make each other stay healthy. The quicker the recovery happens, the quicker we can all get back to life as normal. We can enjoy one another. And most importantly, we can get our employees back to work and our businesses thriving, because that's what our community needs. Great job. Penny McBride, the President and CEO of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce. Penny, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on Informing Fredericksburg, FBG.live. And we really Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate you coming in. I want to thank our crew here. It takes a lot to put this on. Got lots of cameras. Got Paige back there in the control room, Paige Findley, Caleb Dale, Olivia Findley, Jeff Stiles, and Cody Dale. Did I get everybody in, I hope? I do not want to leave anybody else out, because I did want to say this too. God bless you folks, and we're going to get through this. We're going to get through it together. God bless.